Okay, so on this question, they are asking us to graph. So graph the system on your own paper. Then down here, they're going to have like millions of different multiple choice options, like not millions, but maybe 10, quite a bit. Okay, so how do we do it? So they're saying graph the system on your own paper, select the correct graph. So, all right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little graph system here. My own paper, my own little dot paper. We'll figure it out. So, okay. Okay. Okay, so I got my graph paper set up. Let me grab the first equation, bring it over here, y greater than or equal to x minus 1. So remember how we graph, right? It's y equals mx plus b. When y is alone, where do we start? We start out here, huh? Whatever number's off to the right, we start, and that's in the middle. So that'd be negative is down 1 in the middle. So it's always on the middle line. The y, this is the y-axis and the x-axis, as you know. It'd be right here, wouldn't it? It's down there. It's down 1 in the middle. That's where you start. Okay. And then where do you go from there? Well, whatever's in the front is your slope. We don't have anything in the front. Well, that means it's 1 over 1, right? When the front is missing, it's 1 over 1. And that is rise over run. So that means I'm going to go up 1 over 1. There's my second dot. So there's the blue line. Now, was that too fast, right? We see start, whatever's off to the right, that's where you start, down 1. That's your first dot. And then the fraction you have in front there, that's your rise over your run. Okay, so now what we do is, so if there's nothing in front of the x, we need a fraction there, right? Because we got to identify rise and run. So we need there to be a fraction there. So if there's nothing in front of x, you just put 1 over 1, rise and run. Because 1 divided by 1 is just 1, and 1 times x is the same as x, right? It's plastic surgery. We removed the wrinkles. We gave it a new look without changing who it is. It's the same value it was. It's 1 divided by 1 is just 1. And 1 times x is just x. We haven't changed anything. It's the same as it always was. So, and then we put the second dot, go up 1 over 1. There's the second dot. Connect the two dots. Like that. Okay. Now, are we going to shade? I made it a solid line because it has a solid bar, right? Solid bar, solid line. Okay, so, and now it says greater. Greater means shade above. Greater things are above, lesser things are below. Why greater? Shade above. So I'm going to shade everywhere above this line, this blue line. Maybe I'll use a different color here to shade above that line. Okay, so shade everywhere above the blue line. Solid line, shading above. Okay, now for the second one. Here we go. This one, put in red, bring it over here. Y less than minus x plus 2. Where do we start? Start out here. And that's up to, up to positive 2, right? Positive in the middle. The number off to the right is where you start. So right here, up 2 in the middle. And then what's the slope? Well, you're going to put in minus 1 over 1, right? It didn't have any number. It had a minus sign in front of the x, but no number. So you put 1 over 1, because again, that doesn't change anything. 1 divided by 1 is 1. So that's your rise and your run. So that means I'm going to go from my starting dot. From my starting dot, I'm going to go down 1 over 1 to get to my second spot, right? You rise -1, it goes down 1, and run, the bottom is still positive. Remember, we always put the negatives on the top. Are we clear on that? When you have a negative on a fraction, like -2/3 or whatever, just put the negative on the top. You might feel like it's in the middle, so it should go on both, but we know that's not true, right? Because 2 negatives would actually be positive. That'd be +2/3, wouldn't it? That equals +2. That can't be right. So when you have a negative on a fraction, you cannot put it on both because 2 negatives would be positive. So what do? You put it on only one of them. It doesn't really matter which one. You can put it top or bottom, but it'll be easier to just put it on the top because that's your rise. And then just leave the bottom positive because then you'll be going to the right, your run to the right. So that way we're just always going to the right. And if it's negative, we go down and right. If it's positive, we go up and right. So there we go. I went down and right, -1 over +1. So anyway, connect those 2 dots with a straight line. Do that. Okay. Now, where's the shading for that line? Above that line or below that line? Oh, wait a minute. I messed up. It's not a solid line, is it? Try that again. One more time. There we go. This is no solid bar. No solid bar. Therefore, it's not a solid line. It's a dotted line, isn't it? It's a dotted line. So I'm going to need to put in a dotted line. This. So dotted line for that one. So, right? Because it's not a solid line. And then, do I shade above that line or below that line? Well, it says, what does it say? Y less. So Y less, shade below, right? Right? Lesser things are below, greater things are above. The blue one was greater, so we shaded above. This red one is less. Less means shade below. So I'm going to shade below the dotted red line. So here we go. I'm going to shade everywhere below this dotted red line. Okay, there we go. So the answer to the overall problem is going to be this section up here where the 2 shadings overlap. You see that? That's going to be the overall answer to our system. Let's go look. So we're looking for shading, a solid line here, shading above, dotted line going down, shading below. So let's go find that. Oh, and the answer, the answer is the upper left with a solid line and a dotted. Okay. Oh, it's this very first one, isn't it? Am I missing something? This is it. Right? This is totally it. Shading here, solid line here, dotted line there. Yeah, that looks good. All these, this is 2 dotted, this is 2 solid. This is wrong shading, right? Shading's gonna be the left. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's very first option on that one. And so there we go.